So as we move forward, I'm going to show you, you've been hearing a lot about Zoom, and if you haven't used it, it's really great. There's been some problems that people have been reporting, and a lot of those problems are actually due to the settings that have been set by the user. So I am going to take you through some of the settings that you need to make sure you have set before you start, and just kind of walk you through the best way to set things up before you begin. So I'm going to sign in. I went to zoom.us and I'm just signing in with my Sonoma Schools account. And you can already see I have some office hours scheduled, upcoming meetings, previous meetings. Let's go to the settings because there are a tremendous amount of settings in here that you need to look through. So the first thing is, do you want to start your video? Do you want to start the host with video? Yes. Start meetings with the participants' video on? Sure. There we go. Next one is audio type. Do you want people to use their computers? Can they use their telephone and computers? Some people have actually called in. If you've noticed on some staff meetings, you'll see some phone numbers that are there, and it's people actually calling into the meeting. Do you want people to join your meeting before you do? No. So we don't want that on. All right, so that would allow people to join in. Personal ID when scheduling meetings. You could set that. I'm going to have to double check on that. Only authenticated users can join the meeting. Yes. Password required. That's automatically locked now. There's going to be a password for every time you hold a meeting. It should be the same password if you schedule meetings at the same time each week. Again, password is required. Password's required. Embed password in meeting for one-click join. If you were to send an email to your students saying, hey, join this Zoom, they wouldn't have to enter a password. So that password is embedded with that link that you send them. Mute participants upon entry. Do you want them to have sound? Can they talk before you get class started? This is kind of nice because you can unmute everybody right away, but it is kind of nice to get things going. Meeting reminder, we're not going to set. The encryption, no worries. Allow meeting participants to send a message visible to all participants. Do you want students to be able to chat with everybody at any given time? I don't necessarily, it's kind of up to you. I'm going to leave that unchecked right now. Allow participants to send private messages to other people. Again, I'm not going to click that. I'm not going to allow that, so it's grayed out. Save chats. If you want to save the chats, you would turn that on or off. Play sound when participants join or leave. You can actually play music when they come into the Zoom meeting if you want to. If not, you can just leave that unclicked. Host participant can send files through eChat. Yes. Let's see. Keep going here. Screen share. This is important. I think it's set to all participants by default. Do you want students to be able to share the screens and show what's on their screens? I'm going to leave it for me. It's going to be host only. You can actually change that during the meeting if you need to. Who can start sharing when somebody else is sharing? Again, you're on host only. We've disabled desktop screen shares for users. And again, you can change this during the meeting if you want to. This is just the default setting. The whiteboard, allow participants to share whiteboards during meeting. Again, this is something that, they can write stuff and share it. This is, something, especially in math, you may actually want them to do it. I'm going to turn it on because, again, you can fix it when you are in the meeting. Breakout rooms. breakout rooms are kind of cool. It allows you to set up like a separate room for people to like have small group work in. You're not necessarily monitoring that. You can go in between the rooms or not. I used it for interviews at Sonoma State just the other day with student teaching candidates, and it worked really well. I'm going to leave it off. Remote support. Closed captioning allows hosts to type closed captioning. This is kind of cool. It will use voice technology to actually close caption what's going on, so you can actually read along as it goes. You can type it. It will also do voice recognition. Let's see, virtual backgrounds. This is going to be one where it's really kind of fun. You can put a virtual background on anything. We had a video where kids, kind of recorded themselves paying attention and just left that as their background, which is genius. But I'm going to turn off the virtual backgrounds just because I don't want to see, a fish tank in the background or, somebody on a beach or God knows where. All right, so we continue to go through. This is a big one, waiting room. When students join the meeting, they'll come into a quote-unquote waiting room, and then you let them into the meeting. This is also something that a lot of people did not have set when they were talking about the Zoom bombs and people jumping into meetings. They were just open, so we're going to leave this as waiting room. And then we go into the piece here. When a meeting is canceled, it's going to notify. We're going to leave everything here. All right. Our preferences should be saved. I'm trying to see if there's a save button. These are authentication. All right. I think we are good. All right, now, profile. Again, as you go in here, my meeting personal profiles are right here. I can also auto-generate it. I have gone through and I've installed the Zoom scheduler right here in Chrome. So I just went to the Chrome store and I installed it. Now, the cool thing about doing that is when I go to my calendar, let's say I'm going to, turn off all this. And I want to create something, and I want to create something that's going to repeat. So let's say this is period 1, and it's going to be, let's say it were the 20th from 9 to 9:30. I could make it a Zoom meeting. Let's do more options because I want this to repeat. I want this to repeat like every Monday. And I want to, home edition. You don't have to mark anything on there, really. Make it a Zoom. In fact, I'm just going to take that off. Make it a Zoom meeting. Click. There is the link for it. Here is the email piece that I can send out to my students. I could also post this on my Google Classroom so that students can use that to log in, and then I would save it, and every Monday I would have the Zoom meetings scheduled. Now there are a couple of things too. I don't know. All right, so I went back into my control settings because there was a piece that I absolutely forgot to include. I think I actually just skimmed right over it. Is naming. So one of the things students can do when they're in a chat is change their name. You don't want them to be able to change their name. Trust me on this. So I am going to not allow students to change their name. So it's going to show whatever is attached to their Google account. It's really easy to go in and change the names there. All right. So I also have Zoom down here, which will show up when I have the application open, This is just another way to do it since it's downloaded on my computer. I opened it in the applications. The screen sharing feature. One thing I do want to show about the screen sharing feature, which is really cool. Let me start a new meeting. All right, so participants, you can see here, these are where you can actually mute or unmute people. I can rename them. But the one thing that's really cool with this is I can record things. You'll see down here, this is where the background settings would change, where I could put, like a tropical scene in the background. But one of the cool things that I think is really powerful with Zoom is when you go to screen share. So I can share my desktop. I can also connect an iPad or an iPhone to this. I go onto the home menu and just share the screen, and my phone or iPad would pop right up here. It's really, really pretty cool. You can also just plug it in and do the same thing. So I can also share files from my Google Drive. And here's the music or the sound. But really, this sharing your iPad is just quite amazing. And being able to share the screen. All right, so I think I've gone through everything that I needed to go through. The one thing I would suggest is that if you're at home and you have 2 computers, try it out. You can see here's the meeting ID number that I could share out. If I were the password, I would have to share out as well. And I can't see the password, which is not going to help you. So try this out with somebody in the household. If they don't have another computer, download this onto a phone and try it that way. I think there's a lot more features. Need a haircut, everybody. A lot more features that are here that are a little bit better than Google Hangouts. As you have multiple students on here, you'll see a grid view. If it fills up, there'll be a little arrow that will take you to the next page. Good luck, everybody, and if you have any questions, go ahead and just send an email.